Okie dokie. Right here, have a 2011 Triumph Rocket 3, and I just ran into complete ignition failure. Turned the key and absolutely nothing happens. I was stranded at a gas station come about midnight on a Sunday and had to walk 2.5 miles back to my house so I could, go to work the next day. But I got onto the forum, started reading about the failure of ignition issues that the Rocket 3 is famous for, and there seems to be multiple things that can happen and failures regarding the ignition in general. As you can see right here, we have a rat's nest of bullshit under the tank. But I went ahead and took off the front already and took a look at the ignition switch. And you can't really see where it comes in because it's hidden under that shield, but that is the main cord coming from it. Can't really see it, it's all looking black in here. I'm going to turn on some lights, that might help. But check those. I wiggled each wire and they were soldered good and there were no bad connections within it. So I sort of thought that may not be the issue, but the thing was is that it did become intermittent. The thing would be completely dead and then 24 hours later it may turn on. So I got to reading and a lot of people said it could very well be the connector that connects to your ignition switch that can have an issue, and that the bad ones would possibly just need to be bridged. And this just goes to show you that typically everyone blames the amperage of the headlights, especially the dual headlight model here. You have all that power running through the ignition switch, which creates a lot of heat, which then can damage connections. But I took it apart, I pulled apart the plug and put it back together, and the bike turned on. And I'll go ahead and show you what happened. If you take a look at the plug there in the upper left corner, it's already broke a tad bit because I was doing just a tad bit of prodding on it, but you can see right there on the right edge of it, it already sort of melted that part of the plug. None of the other contacts in there looked bad, but the one on the upper left was bent and also looked melted, like it got really hot, maybe warped. I already bent it down, but when I was observing it, it just looked like the top contact for it was just up above the plastic ridge, which isn't any good. So if you're riding around and then, you turn off your bike and turn it back on, you can't go anywhere, that becomes an issue. Pretty much created complete ignition failure. There wasn't any horn, there wasn't any lights, there was nothing. Pretty much just shitty fucking contacts. The same exact thing on this motorcycle. There's another ignition failure I've had. No, this bike is a 2011. It's not fucking old. It's not like things have been rattled a lot and a lot of heat and dirt's got into it. No, it's just shitty engineering. You can also see these plugs here on the actual coils themselves. I replaced them with just the typical slide connects that you'd get at fucking AutoZone for about $1. Some good ones that actually make contact, because the original ones, which are made out of some horse shit crap, I don't know where Triumph buys them, but as soon as they lose, or you pull them off and they sort of lose their original form, they just lose their rigidity in general. You can see these L-shaped things here are stiff. They make good connections with the wires, but the actual slide connectors are just flawed, and they don't ever say anything about that. Like it's like, oh yeah, we specifically bought these clips because they're so fucking fantastic, when my 10-cent fucking AutoZone one actually performs better. I could unhook that and put it on probably 30 fucking times and not have an issue. The only reason I didn't replace these two that are on here, I took the plastic coverings off because I was able to bend and form them, and if something does happen, I can just come in here and make sure they get good contact with my fingers. so I didn't want to go whacking away at my goddamn coil plugs, which I had two on two of them. This second one and the first one that's under here have all been replaced because they're all bad. There's no way to form them back to tightly grip around the the contact of the coils, you know, the little spade connector. And pretty much had to do that before my other ignition failure happened. It's just bad. It's just bad fucking electrical engineering. That's all I can say. Complete bullshit. When you buy a 3 bike? Oh, you know, 3 years old, 4 years old, leaves you fucking stranded. Had me stranded at work. Had me stranded on the side of the highway. That was just a coil stranding me. Already had issues with third-party shit. The actual power commander that came with the bike when I bought it used was actually causing more problems. I just hadn't took it off because it was all bullshit. If you ever think about buying a Power Commander 5 for your Rocket 3, even with the auto-tune oxygen sensor, it's pretty much junk. It doesn't do a fucking thing for you. You can just get a Tune ECU cord and put on one of the maps that's on the Tune ECU site for the the torque limitation they have in the first 2 gears. You pretty much remove those with some not aftermarket, but just the ECU maps they have available, and it really does the trick. There's no need for $500, $600 of third-party crap to get any more performance. It really doesn't happen. I used the auto-tune system where it was making trim adjustments on the fly, and you'd go ahead and commit the trim adjustments after about 100 miles of riding, and then you would create throttle position issues. I would open it up 10-20%, and it would cause the engine to sputter or fail to run correctly. So it's just really a waste of money. I mean, you can buy your Power Commander and put on a map, and you will see absolutely pretty much no difference in between putting the non-limited maps on your ECU on your bike. That's all I can really think about that. It's just a fucking waste of money, so don't do it. I went ahead and put a K&N filter, and I did the 3-pod thing, but that was a waste of time too. There's pretty much no difference. When you got a bike that weighs 800 pounds and it has about 145 horsepower, what the hell's the difference with 4 more horsepower or 3? You know, you're not going to see it. It's just a waste of time. Pod filters can actually possibly catch fire. Another bad thing about them. Plus, the power difference is pretty much unnoticeable. You're not going to be spinning your tires faster or nothing because it's just, you ain't going to see it. Another thing is pod filters is that these things make an incredible racket. Their valve train apparently resonates through the throttle bodies and creates a very loud knocking machine gun fast knock, which is makes it sound like a giant piece of shit when it's going down the highway, because it only makes these sounds in the pretty much the popular RPM ranges of 2,000 to 3,500 RPM. So when you're driving normally, your bike sounds like a goddamn valve's gonna fly out of it. It's been banging around in there or something, so it sounds absolutely like garbage. So you might as well just not even bother with that too. Keep in mind, this may not be all the same for all the models. You know, the classic older ones may not make the noises, but this one certainly did. So I highly recommend not buying the thing, or buying the pod filters. I just got normal ducting with the K&N filter that goes in the actual housing. Everything's tight, no sounds coming out of it when it's running down the highway. So it's all good there. But I did have the coil failures, you know, just working on it, taking off the coil leads, the original ones, pretty much created a giant failure there. Left me dead on the highway. So if you want to do yourself a favor and you got to do some work on this, I already had to replace the valve cover gasket because it was leaking. Someone already got in there, checked the valves, put the old gasket on it, it seemed like, and then it started leaking a couple months down the road. which led me to have to take the coils out, take the valve covers off, all that, and then you create other issues, which will leave you stranded on the road because Triumph's connectors are garbage. Pretty much garbage. It's this one here. Makes a good solid connection on both sides, doesn't wiggle up and down. I got that going where it doesn't wiggle up and down, but these were the worst. That one there and this one here were failing. All because they've only been removed and put back on. Pretty normal stuff. Nothing vicious. But I just wanted to save yourself. You could possibly save yourself a lot of money, and this is just for a video for all the crap I've had to do for this piece of shit bike. I think I paid $9,000 for this piece of shit, and I've had to do more work on it than my 30-year-old Yamaha I have in the garage. You can write Triumph or research their issues, or try to get them to pay for your ignition problem. They probably won't. They don't recognize that they have any electrical issues. Not a big deal, but if you go on the Rocket 3 forums, you'll see there's about a 22-page thread of, about 30-40 people have had complete ignition failure with the Rocket. Some people paying up to almost $1,000 to get it fucking repaired, all because of just shoddy bullshit they decided to put in to their electrical system. Just crap. I imagine that could have been caused just by removing it once and plugging it back in. That could have very well just ruined that contact on the left, which caused complete ignition failure later down the road. What I'm going to do is go ahead and remove these connectors, put just basic female to male plug-ins, just one to the other, and I'll have it fixed. You can see this one's going to the ignition. They're just small little spade connects. Nothing hefty there. You could probably bend them with just a fucking flick of a screwdriver. And then the actual female plug-in is just fucking junk. If they're anything like their coil connections, which look like some proprietary bullshit they got sold on, like there's some fantastic fucking deal, they probably got sold on these too, which if you ask me is complete fucking failure. And I imagine anybody with this bike will eventually have these issues, because if you ever go mess around with the top end of this motorcycle, you will have to unplug stuff and then plug it back in. Sort of routine, sort of why people use plugs. But to have them fail just by unplugging them, or just having too much amperage run through, it's fucking ridiculous. So I just wanted to make a video showing you what I found with this. Oh, surely this won't be the end of my problems, but if I actually want to take the fucking thing out of state and make it back possibly, this kind of shit need to be fixed. Also, if you're ever out there on the road and get yourself stuck, there's probably only two places it's going to break. Right here at the ignition switch, which is a $400 part on the 2011 Rocket. It's nothing cheap, pretty expensive. Or it could be right here in the plug, which is my case. So I'm going to go ahead and fucking fix that. Just put old basic bullshit on here, like this junk ass Honda I have. Just female to male butt fucking connectors. Fucking shrink wrap, make sure they're fucking clean and tight. Just about $8 worth of parts at AutoZone pretty much out engineers Triumph's electrical fucking team. Pretty sad. So I just want to get that all out there for you. You buy a Rocket 3, you're most likely going to have fucking electrical issues if you ever work on it. And if you go ahead and read the Rocket 3 owner forums, you'll probably won't even want to buy a fucking Rocket 3 because there's so many fucking issues with them. Now, I do have to say, it's probably one of the funnest bikes that I've ever rode. It's big, smooth, have torque exhaust. It sounds beautiful going down the road, and it's fast as fuck. You're going to roast every Harley out there. Like I said, it's a fun-ass bike to ride, but goddamn, you have enough issues. It becomes a fucking embarrassment. People call you up, want to ride, and be like, "Oh yeah, my new bike, yeah, it's fucking in my garage, not running because Triumph fucking doesn't engineer shit very well." I mean, my dumbass that has no fucking electrical background at all, besides doing car stereos and other basic electrical stuff, could probably make some more reliable shit than they could, honestly. If anybody works at Triumph, watches this, I'd feel free to contact me. I don't really give a fuck. So, yep, figured I'd show you all that jazz. Just showing, I haven't seen anybody with a video that's shown the plug failure, but that's it. I mean, you can even see the top end of that plug. It did get moved. It's dirty. It maybe got hot, carbon built up. It's tough to say. But you can tell just by the holes in the they have contacts up top, bottom. I don't see any on the side necessarily. But it's just a fail all around. And I'm not the only one with a plug failure. If you go on the R3 forums, you'll see it. People have had plug failures and they have to fix them themselves. Pretty sad. Anyhow, have a good day. Here in Kansas. There's an old blue van. Have a good one. Bye. I also need to add it that I'm not actually sure at this moment. I don't have the wiring diagram from the ignition switch, but I'm not sure if that wire there is part of the headlight power source. Not positive on that yet. I'll probably look into it, but regardless of what it is, it did get too hot or bent easily. That's all I want to say about that. Now, I probably will. There is a relay mod that you can put in for the headlights. There's a guy on the video YouTube that has him putting the relay mod on the rocket, which should take the current off the ignition switch for the headlight power source. And that's probably the mod I'm going to do. I already bought a relay for it and just sort of tied in on the side wiring. Now, if it's not needed for the 2011, I may not do it. But there is also an Eastern Beaver headlight relay mod thing they got. It's cost about $60. Apparently it's popular with the older rockets. Not sure about the new one, but I think if I can just get away with putting in my own relay mod for the headlight power, then I'm just going to do that. Should be good enough for who it's for, kind of thing. But I don't see the plug or those contacts becoming an issue again, because that's my issue with the heat coming from the power source. If that's the case, I just wanted to go ahead and add that. Thanks.